Yangon is actually getting better. Yangon is improving, and we need to spend more time talking about the positive sides to Yangon and stop being so negative. I'm going to give you 3 reasons and 3 updates to Yangon that everyone already knows about, but I will explain to you why it's so good for the economy of Yangon. First, I want to talk about trains. Myanmar has launched a new railway line, a diesel electric modular unit, DEMU, a DEMU train in Yangon as of July of 2026. This is a part of a broader modernization effort in Myanmar. Now, DEMU trains are not electric trains. They are both diesel and electric units. The diesel engine does not turn the wheels. The diesel actually generates electricity, and the electricity turns the wheels. Now, traditional Myanmar trains work very differently. They are locomotive trains. So you have one engine at the front of a train, and that one engine carries the entire train behind it. Now, the DEMU trains have an engine for each section of the train. And think of this as like having 4 people pushing a car instead of 1 person pushing a car. So these DEMU trains are faster, they're more reliable, easier to reverse, they're better at going up hills, and they're less likely to slip. These type of trains are fantastic for the economy of Myanmar because good DEMU railways lower the cost of moving people, and they lower the cost of moving around goods, agricultural and manufacturing. And if you lower the cost of movement, you lower the cost of doing business. So you lower the cost of transport, ultimately you lower the cost to produce that product, which means higher profits, which usually leads to more investments and a higher GDP in the long run. Next, I want to talk about bridges. We all know in Yangon that there was a new Dala Bridge, the Myanmar-Korean Friendship Bridge, but in Myanmar it's just called the Dala Bridge. And this officially opened up in February of 2026. It connects downtown Yangon to the Dala Township, and it replaces a lot of the reliance on the ferries or the boats that were being used before. So if you lived in Dala and worked in Yangon, or vice versa, it could be very time consuming to get to work every day, or to get to school every day, or to do business on the other side. So that meant waiting for boats, bad weather delays, carrying luggage, limited operating hours, etc., etc. But now, simply a bus just crosses the bridge and you can do away with all that. So since the opening of this bridge, we have about 8,000 to 10,000 people crossing by bridge on just the bus. And before, you had ferries making about 40 trips a day. Now they make about 10 trips a day. But let me tell you why this is good for the economy. First, it's obvious. It saves time, okay? If thousands of workers save 30 minutes each and every day, that's thousands of additional working hours created every day. This increases the productivity of Myanmar. Here's the next reason. This is more important. People don't think about this. Now, the bridge actually raises the value of the land in Dala. Before the bridge, it raises the value of the land, okay, on the other side of the bridge and in Yangon. And let me tell you why. Before this bridge, Dala was pretty much isolated. It was separated from Yangon. It's too hard to cross. But now, after this bridge has been built, this makes Dala an additional suburb to Yangon. And that brings value to Dala, and that increases the size of Yangon, okay, making Yangon in general more valuable. Lastly, I want to talk about the digital infrastructure being built, because a lot of people kind of ignored how significant MyanmarPay was. And let me explain it to you. So Myanmar is actually trying to skip credit cards and trying to get around sanctions in any way they can. Last year, they rolled out something called MMQR, or just MyanmarPay. And this is a system that's kind of being pushed on everybody by the government of Myanmar. But since they have began. In the first 10 months, there were 25 million users registered. Wow. There have been 500,000 merchants who accepted MyanmarPay. And also, in the first 9 months, there were 30 million transactions. Let me explain to you what this means for the economy. Because people think that these QR codes are about convenience. That's not true. These QR codes are about productivity. Every second a shopkeeper spends counting cash and giving people their change, that's time they spend. That's time that they could have been using, being more productive and serving other customers. So multiply those small savings across millions of transactions every year, and what you get is a more efficient economy. QR codes are important for businesses because QR codes don't require these businesses to buy these expensive card machines or sign these merchant contracts. QR codes reduce cash handling and they reduce the risk of theft. They also reduce counting mistakes and they push down the transaction time. MyanmarPay just unifies all the existing QR codes. So before you had like KBZ and Alia, et cetera, they all had different QR codes. Now all of them accept the same QR code and it's working out fantastic. Digital infrastructure is needed just as much as brick and mortar infrastructure. Yangon